Good afternoon, Australian Discworld Convention. I'm so excited to be here today with you with our virtual session with Andy Douthwaite, who is the lead designer of the Discworld role-playing game. I guess just by way of introduction, many of you know me. I'm Stuart. When uh, I'm not at Discworld conventions or being part of organising Discworld conventions, I am an avid role player and have played mostly GM'd lots of role-playing games over the years. Some of you might remember our session on role-playing games at the previous Discord convention, which was the Nullus Anxietas 9. I have my t-shirt on from. And the discussion we had there. And in 2024, we were really excited because they had just announced that Modiphius were going to be making the Discworld role-playing game. I think at that point it had just been announced, and we were all kind of rapidly speculating about what's going on. So I'm so excited to have Andy with us today to, I guess, chat about that process, chat about the Discworld RPG, and hopefully by the end of this, talk a little bit about how you can make a character and playing a campaign of your very own. But before we get really started, I did want to ask you, Andy, a role-playing game designer is a really unusual job title. So how do you, I guess, become a role-playing game designer, and how did you get into this area?
Yeah, it's an unusual job. Someone's got to do it. But this is something where I always get a bit of flack from my partner because I say I kind of just fell into it, which is not technically true. Um, it's one of those industries that once you're in, you can start to really like spread your wings, but getting in the door is quite difficult. I was applying to jobs all over tabletop for years. I was an archaeologist before this, and I even though my partner doesn't like me saying it, I got lucky. A friend of mine was told me about Modiphius hiring. I applied and managed to get a foot in the door, which was really good for me because I've been trying to build RPGs in my spare time for years, and that's the main way that most people get into it. Is you keep making games, and then eventually someone pays you to make games.
Fantastic. And you I know you've worked on a few kind of little other ways to get up to before Discworld you were working on some other bits and pieces as well for I believe the Fallout role-playing game is something you've been quite involved with.
Yeah. So my first sort of stuff that I did with Modiphius was writing some of the NPC packs and the small like narrative bits for Fallout. So things like the Rust Devils, I think was the first one I worked on,
Hmm.
Enclave Remnants, things like that. These sort of small self-contained packets that you can add to your game, which give you more insight into that specific like group, as it were, or organization, or however you wish to call them. Oh
Yep.
yeah, those things.
Yes, we have, sorry, your camera might have just gone off the screen, but we do have some samples here of what I believe is your work or primarily your work.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Rust Devils was the first thing I worked on at the company, which was a lot of fun. And then yeah, more recently the Hollywood Heroes, or Hollywood Icons, as the second lot is called, which are tying in the Fallout role-playing game into the Fallout TV series, and then obviously Discworld is the big one.
So, and I know I was looking in the preparation for this at an interview that you did for kind of in the lead up to this about this. I believe you'd been on paternity leave and had pitched Discworld and then had come back and they said you're up.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I knew we were in talks to get the Discord license, and this was again when I was not that long at the company. I was like, I have ideas. I have tried to make a Discord RPG before. I've tried to like twist different systems to make it work. So can I please be involved in this? And then yeah, I went off on paternity leave and came back. I was like, yep, you're the lead. Let's go.
Yeah.
Start putting those ideas together. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Yeah.
That's
Which was
a fantastic
yeah.
thing to come back to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah. So I guess you know, looking at the ones we were looking at before, Fallout versus Discworld, you're dealing there, I guess, with kind of established worlds and big like, licenses. And I know that's Modiphius has worked with another, and we'll quite a few, and we'll look at some in a bit. But I guess how do you approach those, I guess, kind of in general, and then what specifically about the Discworld one did you have to really take care of in your approach to designing a game around it?
So like one of the key things that I think Modiphius products do really well is that they feel very much like the world that they are, if that makes sense. So like our Star Trek RPGs, reading them, it feels like Star Trek. Our Fallout RPGs feel like Fallout. And one way that we do that is we go deep into like research at the beginning of a project. So like when I was working on Fallout for a while, I was being paid to sit and play Fallout 4. It's a great time.
A tough
Uh,
job, tough job.
I know it's hard, and I don't know if you can see, but I have many piles of books here for Pratchett for Discworld. I have been sat down and rereading Discworld for the umpteenth time. So we really like to focus in on getting the vibe and like the feel of a product down at the very start, so we know sort of like the voice of that product and how we want to portray that within the books. Because unfortunately, in all of our games, we can't include a developer in the box. So we have to try and get everything across in the way that we write and how we communicate the ideas and like the concepts and the mechanics of a game. And like you say, Fallout versus Discord's very different worlds, very different like ideas we're trying to get across. So Fallout has a lot more technical, and Star Trek specifically has a lot of technical language in it, whereas something like Fallout for Discworld is a lot more conversational because it's a lot more of a conversational type game. It's a lot more not relaxed, but it's a lot more different. It's a different tone, a very different tone, I think.
Yeah. And I was actually going to just do one little show off. I do have my Star Trek from playing the Star Trek RPG. I do have my little tricorder dice case sitting here on my
Nice.
desk. Um, and I guess I've played the Star Trek RPG out of the ones you've mentioned. That's one I've spent the most time with. I am looking forward a lot to digging into Discord. I am one of those people that spent lots of money on the Kickstarter, so I'm waiting. I'm eagerly awaiting
Thank
those
you. You
books.
pay my wage.
That's right. I'm eagerly awaiting those books to come my way to stuck into it. But one thing I was struck by, I guess, looking at certainly Star Trek and versus this, both how it kind of emulates the those sorts of stories as well. Like the Star Trek one has that kind of technical skills and professionals doing professional things, whereas the Discworld one is, reading the rule set is a lot more playing around with language and playing around with a game that runs a little bit more on narrativium almost.
Yeah, because they're two very different beasts. They're very different kettles of fish. And like for Discworld specifically, we looked early on at using our in-house system, the 2D20 system, which we use for a lot of our games, and decided that actually, like you say, that's all. It allows you to play a very technical game, a very like I have these skills, I can do these things. Whereas Discworld is very much about, I think at its core, it's about people just trying to get on with their lives and stories happening to them and them muddling through. So it's a lot more about like you say, the language, the words. Like I think one of the things we have in the book is talking about how Pratchett used language in playful and sometimes frankly ridiculous ways, and we want people to do that. That's what we want people to like really engage with in this. It's not about the numbers. It's not having a +3 to a die roll or things like that. It's about being able to wrangle the English language in such a way as to make everyone go, "Oh, really? Come on!" Uh, that's the core essence of it, I think.
And look, and you can certainly see that through reading the books, and yeah, I was struck by a little bit of that, I guess, DNA from some of these other games, though. There's a little bit of it in there, like the luck points are used in similar ways to momentum and things out of Star Trek and those other pieces. Was that something you were trying to do, or was it just something you thought was a good fit and had fit in?
It's something that became a good fit. So luck is an interesting one. Luck originally was very early on in the process, more akin to like a health pool almost, not quite. It was more like and it sort of evolved from that idea of like you kind of need a health pool, but you don't want one in Pratch. You don't want to encourage people to punch people in the face, and that's what health pools do. Uh, uh, for the most part, depending on the game. But it was more akin to like looking at some of the other inspirations, some things like how Call of Cthulhu, uh, whether you enjoy it or not, the sanity pool on that can be affected by what you do, but you can also spend it to do better. And other games do that as well. There's a lot of that. A lot of D100 systems have a way for you to spend to up your roll. And luck kind of started off as that, as a way to interact with your roll. Um, it it sort of still is, but it became a lot more like, well, actually, we have Lady Luck in Discworld. The GM is there kind of as an embodiment of Lady Luck at the table. So how can the players get in on that? So it allows them to then essentially push their luck, which was why where we came to the name Luck on it. It's like it's essentially kind of a way to try again, but if it goes wrong, it's going to go really wrong, sort of thing. But yeah, it is also there's undeniable DNA from the other games that we've worked on, like you say with Momentum and things like that, has a similar space.
Fantastic. And I was just going to, I guess, for an audience's sake, show some of those other games that they may have heard of from Modiphius. We've already mentioned Star Trek. Oh, hang on, here it comes. We've already mentioned Star Trek, of course, as one of them. Fallout, of course. But you've worked on some really quite different things, so it's a bit of a specialty for Modiphius, I guess, taking these big like different things and making a role-playing game that kind of suits them perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. So we do a lot of IP, intellectual property, license, whatever you want to call it, work. Uh, I think because we have an ability to, like I said earlier, make the games feel like the world that they are in. So like one of the ones you've got up there, Cohorts Cthulhu, I've done some writing on, and that one is a completely different thing than Fallout, which is a completely different thing from Star Trek, completely different thing from Discworld, even though it's like a completely different system, but even if it was the same system, very different world. And we've just announced the Wolfenstein role-playing game as well, which is again another completely different world, a completely different setting.
Yeah,
And
I'm expecting some
yeah,
real combat focus in the Wolfenstein thing that would be
oh
totally
yeah,
inappropriate in the Discord setting, of course.
yeah, exactly. And it's focusing in on what that IP is all about. So like Wolfenstein is all about combat. That's the big thing. So we've gone back to sort of like the engine and made it a combat more focused game. Whereas something like Star Trek is very much like if there is combat, it's background to the other stuff you're doing. It's not the focus. And then Discworld again is like combat happens, yeah, sure. There's a revolution in Nightwatch. There's a lot of combat. There's an entire war in Jingo, but it's never the focus. It's never the this is what you're going on. Even in like some of the really brutal scenes, like the like on top of the barricades in Nightwatch, you get some quite grisly descriptions, but most of it is just left to your imagination. So we've tried to follow through with that with the Discworld RPG, where there's no separate rules for combat. Combats are treated exactly the same as every other kind of test, apart from magic. But that's a whole again another
Yeah,
kettle of fish.
yeah, and we're talking about the new one, but I guess that's quite a contrast to I guess the previous Discworld role-playing game, which was based on GURPS, which was quite doing quite a almost like a realist, an emulation of the real world with, physics and everything, whereas this is doing it much more in that kind of narrative space.
Yeah, so I've talked about GURPS before. I've got a copy of it. I've tried to play it. It's
It's difficult.
of its time.
Yes.
But the thing with stuff like GURPS is it's very much the GURPS Discworld and a lot of that era of role playing games walked so we could run. Like we are now in a era of role playing games where people want that narrative focus, and that wasn't the case back then. So we couldn't have released this game back when GURPS came out. It just would not. It would have been so weird and off the cuff and unusual that people probably would have just not engaged with it. Whereas now, like the sort of narrative forward, the sort of like play to find out type role playing games, rules light role playing games are growing and growing in popularity because that's what people kind of want out of their games sometimes. Like sometimes you want a nice crunchy thing where you get to go into really deep levels of combat, and sometimes you want to make a pun and dick about in Discworld, which I did try and get them to call it that, but apparently we weren't allowed to call it dicking about in Discworld.
I would actually, and this is perhaps going in a little deep for I guess some of the viewers. I think we've both name checked quite a few role-playing games in that as we've gone along. Outside of some of these other Modiphius ones and Call of Cthulhu that you also mentioned, what were some of the like real touchstones in terms of how it's presented or anything in that role-playing game world that you look to?
So many. So things like Wander Home and stuff like that, which are very narrative focused games. Um, Goblin Quest, I think, was one because that's a very sort of comedic game. So it's like how you do comedy in
The
RPGs. Same with
the Grant Howard.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. And the Monty Python game because that game is a masterclass on how you get a tone of an IP into a game. So it is it's beautiful. If you haven't read it, it's worth a read, even if you don't end up playing it. It does have some of the worst dice in the world. Like I think they've got a D15 or something in there, which hurts me. But it is it's yeah, those sort of games where they're taking a very comedic thing and putting it onto a table, which is not necessarily going to be a table full of comedians or writers or game developers or whatever, but still managing to keep that tone through the way that they tell you how to play, basically.
Yeah. So I was going to yeah, looking through the book and I was reading it just before a session again to swat up. I was really struck by one, it's gorgeous. The PDF that we've received is gorgeous and has all these like I guess this richness of detail and lots of illustration. It's got some wonderful some of the things you expect to see in RPG, wonderful tables and things like that. But it's also covered in funny little notes and funny little footnotes and ways to that. Other than, part of that, of course, is getting Terry's tone down. But is there something you were really like happy to sneak in there or you thought was really important that the game communicated in its visual presentation or anything like that?
I think the footnotes, like we knew straight off the bat that this book needed footnotes. Like you could not do Discworld without footnotes; it would just be wrong. The footnotes have been a place where we've had a lot of fun. There's a lot of very silly footnotes in there. And now that I'm going through and currently working on the next stuff to come out, and we have worked on other bits of Discworld. Um, those footnotes continue to be a real nice like little. They let you do that. They let you release your inner Pratchett. They let you do that little aside that Pratchett always did, which is a lot of fun. I know, like you say, with the way that it's laid out, like everyone on the team did an amazing job getting this book together. It's chef's kiss. But one thing that I really like, which is something we added right at the end, and I don't know if everyone that has it will have noticed it or not, because it's quite subtle, is there's little vignettes, there's little characters in the corner pieces that you can follow through on pages doing a story. My favorite one, I cannot remember which part is in, so you guys are going to have to go through and find it yourselves. Is the luggage is slowly eating larger creatures. So it starts off on like a bird, and then it eats a cat, and then a dog, and then it chases a human off the edge. It's a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun putting those in as like a last minute little thing.
Yeah, and you've partnered, of course, with Paul Kidby for many of the illustrations and
Yes.
to get them all in there. It's a really rich collection just to flick through or scroll through and go, look at that next to the text and have it kind of all there in front of you. It's a wonderful if it's a wonderful read for people who are maybe not RPG fans but who are Discworld fans. I think there's lots of things in there for them.
Oh yeah, like so one of the things that I've said well, I've always said, is there's no such thing as your fun is wrong. So if you want to buy this book and just look at the pictures, do it. They're great. Kidby's art is amazing, and obviously we had to use as much of it as possible because it is Discworld. Like if you want to also play the game, I'd really like that too. But if all you want to do is just look at the pretty thing and have like an encyclopedia type thing of Ankh-Morpork, it's right here for you. Like this was always focused on Discworld fans first. Like we wanted the fans to be able to pick up and go, this is Discworld, and like look through it and pick up. It's like, hey, there's Dibbler, hey, there's Nobby Knobs. Wanted people to look through it and just have that little like just that happy feeling of picking up a Discworld book, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's lots in there, like a lot of the characters that we, I guess, know and love are kind of in there, you know, as their character and or like a version of them that fits in a particular story. And it's not like it's not like a monster manual out of, you know, a more technical RPG like Dungeons and Dragons, where it's a block of stats. It actually has a lot to say about their character and distilling them down to their essence and how they perform kind of in this narrative role as well.
Yeah, yeah. So the way that the characters were built, we figured out pretty early on as well that we wanted to, like you say, wanted to distill them down. We didn't want them to just be. This game is not about numbers. There are the only numbers you deal with in this game are either your luck, which is 1 to 4, or the number on the dice. That is it. There's no numbers on your character sheet. There's no numbers on the NPC sheets. There's no to hit values. There's none of these things. We wanted to distill them down, like you say, to their essence. So let's see. I've got just pick one here. Most Fun Lit Vig. Um,
Look,
uh,
you'll always make me
yeah.
very happy when you pick Moist Fond Lip Pig. You can see my moist hat is sitting up behind me, and I've walked around previous conventions in the gold suit. So absolutely,
Oh,
let's talk about Moist.
excellent. Yeah. Yeah. So like the way that we built them out, you've got the what they're known as, and then the down to like their actual names. Things like species and niche. Niche is a big thing we quite
Mhm.
enjoy. It's a very evocative, like it's where people fit. And then stuff you notice about them. So like for Moist's one, obviously it's Moist von Litvig, and then his full name, not the longest full name we've got. The longest full name I think is Death,
Mhm.
because we have all of his titles. But like
I,
Albert
I thought
Spangler,
you were going to say not as big as Wee Jock Jock, but he might be to
uh,
come.
he's coming later.
Ah, fantastic.
um, but yeah, you've got all of his names, what he knows, and then his features are things that you know about Moist. Like this, the way we wanted it is a someone running the game can look at this character sheet and with 3 lines know this character. So for Moist, it's all about style. You can always fool a dishonest man and never far away from an emergency stash. Which slight insight into this game specifically, it is set at the turn of the century of the Anchovy. So it's just before the events of Going Postal and Thud. So Moist is at this point in the game still, or in the core book at least, still Moist. It's still like Albert Spangler. He's still the con man
Still
of
running his schemes, running his cons,
yes,
and yeah.
exactly. And then we have in one of the supplementary books, we have a later view of Moist in the Industrial Revolution, where he's like the postmaster general and the head of the Royal Bank and taking on the railways and things like that. So because that was a very interesting challenge with this, is like where do you? There's so much Discworld, and we knew we wanted to focus on Ankh-Morpork because it's Ankh-Morpork. Like it is the disc. It's the first place you think of, and it has all of the or many of the main characters. Um, but then there's so much Ankh-Morpork. Where do you focus within that? And we decided to set it at the turn of the century Anchovy because it's when Ankh-Morpork was its most Ankh-Morporky. Not necessarily its best because it's never its best,
No,
but
perhaps
it's
less,
most yeah.
somewhere between its most pungent and its least on fire is probably about where it's
Yes,
at.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Um, we then realized once we'd written this that we needed to give people a way to play in their Ankh-Morpork, whichever theirs is, whether they wanted to go right back to like the early days with like Color of Magic, or if they wanted to go all the way through to Raising Steam and have the full technological like industrial revolution in full swing. So one of the supplement books from the Kickstarter is that it's the Ankh-Morpork Through the Ages, what we were terming the Eras book in development, but it ended up with that title, which
Yeah,
allows you to play.
I sasaw Masquerade era Granny Weatherwax in that book as one of those eras that
Yes.
you're looking at.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we were really, that was the one thing about Ankh-Morpork we were so torn. It's like, but we can't get the witches in, and then we're like, wait a minute, they are in Ankh-Morpork very briefly. So yeah, in the core book we've got all of the characters as they appear in the turn of the century, and then in supplementary books we've got them as they appear in that specific story. So you have like Granny Nanny, Grebo, and Agnes, and then supplementary characters like Walter Plinge and things like that for the Masquerade stuff. And then you going all the way back, you've got like Ned Coates and young Sam from Night Watch. And then all the way forward, yeah, you've got Moist as his full moistness, I guess. Mr. Slightly Damp, as the goblins call him, and goblins as they appear in the last few books. So it was really fun to be able to get
Probably
that.
in a very different role than goblins appear in any other role-playing game in
Yeah,
existence. The goblins as they'd appear in Discworld.
yeah, oh yeah. That was a lot of fun being
No
able to
longer
play with
level
that.
one fodder.
No, no, no. If you start stomping on goblins, then you're going to have to answer to the watch, and they're not going to be happy about it.
Which I imagine will come as quite a shock to, yeah. And if you were, trying to get a friend into this who was outside, they'd see a goblin and they'd be like, no, 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 we got to talk to him. He's fine.
Yeah, he's a friend. Don't punch the goblin.
Yeah. So I guess that I guess segues into something I wanted to talk to you about. So let's say you have turned up to your regular game night and your GM has all of this on the table. Like myself, spent big on the Kickstarter, got all the loot and stuff. If you've not played either a role-playing game or you've only maybe played some of the big ones, a D&D or a Call of Cthulhu or something like that. What's the real, I guess, thing you would tell someone about playing this one and getting into this kind of type of game or a game that's structured like this, as opposed to something maybe more traditional?
I think, and it's a tough one because everyone's different, every game group's different, everyone's experiences are different. But have fun with it. Like this is not a serious game. Like Discworld has its serious moments, certainly, but it also has its silly moments and it has its weird and wacky moments. I think this game encapsulates that quite nicely. In the, I think not just this game, but role-playing games in general are an excellent medium for that because you can have your serious moments, you can have your silly moments, but it's all driven by the people around the table being serious or being silly. And it's some advice we give it in this is like don't force the funny, and I think that's excellent advice for any RPG, but very specifically this RPG and RPGs that deal with comedy. If you force the funny, it's not funny. Unless you're a fool, in which case force the funny all you want because that's what fools do. Um, but like you just let the moments naturally occur. That's like I said earlier. That's I think where Discworld shines is when you've just got normal people just trying to deal with the stupid stuff happening around them.
Yeah, and I was really one of the things that's kind of in the book, when you're making your characters, you're not just creating a character, I guess, by themselves. That's not going to be the loner sitting off by themselves. They're kind of linked to an organization or linked to a group as a kind of core piece of infrastructure of the game.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing that we wanted to make sure didn't happen, which is something that can happen in RPGs if you, depending on the group, is everyone rocks up with their characters pre-made and there's no links between anyone, and then the GM struggles immensely to try and keep this group together and not all buggering off down the pub. So we wanted to start by like, no, you are. We already knew you're in Ankh-Morpork, so we already have our setting. And one of the massive parts of Ankh-Morpork are the guilds and like the organizations within Ankh-Morpork itself. So it's like, well, we will link those to those. And we looked at the way that Pratchett structured his stories, and you have the Watch stories, the Witches stories, uh, some of the other things like Small Gods, which kind of just fit in anywhere. So we're like, well, if we're telling Pratchett-esque stories in Discworld, that needs to be then the focus. So you will be the Watch, in which case you're going to be Watchmen. You will be wizards, so you're from Unseen University. You will be assassins like Tepic in Pyramids. You will be like thieves or beggars or the Times, like the Truth. So it gives you a focus, so you know what type of story to expect. In the same way that you pick up one of the Discworld books and like, oh, this is a Watch book. I know I'm going to be talking. We're going to be following Vimes, and we're going to be interacting with these characters, and there's going to be crime and all of these things.
Yeah, and part of that also, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, is your character has I guess a niche within that group, like something that's kind of their
Yeah, they
narrative,
were a
their
lot of
narrative
fun.
role. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they were a lot of fun to write. Um, because you get some really silly things. We got to have a lot of fun with those. But yeah, like you say, it's their place within that group. And you don't double up on niches. There's no point having two straight men in a group, you know. Um, so let's pick one completely and totally at random. Uh, the Assassin's Guild. So Assassin's Guild students, example niches are things like the fashionable rogue or the appraiser of human worth or a 0% recorded attendance, things like that. So it gives you a sort of an evocative like thing to hang your character on, essentially. So if you're the fashionable rogue, you're going to be the one that's very dapper in all black with the big hat, the swoopy cape, all of these things. Whereas someone that is maybe like the 0% recorded attendance is just going to be completely like not background, but very missable by design.
Yeah. And that's one of the I noticed that too when structuring your group and your quirks, and we'll have a look at a character, I guess designing a character in a little bit, but one of the things about that is that some of those questions when it's really designed that you kind of create those characters at a table and thinking about their role with respect to other characters as well.
Yeah. So we wanted this to be a game that you like. You can do session zeros, which for the uninitiated are like pre-sessions before you start playing an RPG, where you sort of sit down and everyone gets an idea of what the game is going to be. Usually creates their characters, and you start like linking characters together and that sort of thing. We wanted this to be a game where you can do that, but you could do that as the first part of your actual first session and then just go straight into it. So we wanted people to be able to hit the ground running. So we wanted everyone to be working together, not coming in separately with I have this character, I have this character. But you're like, no, you are all these people. You create your group together, like your party. So you answer questions about like how you know each other, where you're from, all of these things, and then you create your characters like at a table so that you can bounce ideas off each other. Because it's one of the good things about RPGs is there's more than one brain. So if you can't think of anything, your mate probably can, and then you can share ideas and bounce things around.
And that goes to, I guess, those quirks, which are kind of what makes your character. It's like a feature of your character or something that you can kind of lean back on. Is it something that is related to your group or is related to your own character's, I guess, history? And I guess for
Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
who haven't read through it's not like looking at a table of feats in something else where it gives you this mechanical thing. It's actually quite a short sentence that's quite evocative of who your guy is.
Yeah, so like the idea behind quirks is they're the weird little idiosyncrasies that a character has. So the weird quirk that makes them them. Like there are hundreds. So to go back to the Assassin's Guild thing, just because it was what was on my screen at the time, I've lost it now. There it is. To go back to the fashionable rogue niche, like there are hundreds of fashionable rogues. So what makes you you? What makes this character your character and not just fashionable rogue number seven? Um, and so that the idea behind the quirk questions was that you would think about the question, answer it in just a short sentence, a short, like say, evocative sentence that you can then use during play to be like, so let's go with how many of your original classes left is one of the quirk questions for the Assassin's Guild. Um, and the answer, a lot less once I passed camouflage. Like that instantly tells you, oh, you are a ruthless character. Like this is a this is someone that believes in the Assassin's Guild's way of doing how does he put it? Competitive examination. It allows you to really sort of invoke who that character is in a short sentence, and then when it comes to actually making tests in the game, you can be like, well, no, I'm this right here means I'm real ruthless, so I should be able to do this thing. Or as we say, we want people to twist these quirks. So you could twist a lot less until I passed advanced camouflage. Like say you're a troll assassin, and we're like, I pass advanced camouflage. I can just stand here, and
Yeah,
people won't notice me. They will just think I am a bit of rock, and things like that.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun little system that allows you to play with words quite a lot.
Yeah, and that kind of bargaining and back and forth with a GM, I guess again, not to draw too many outside comparisons, but in other games like Blades in the Dark, where you make a devil's bargain with a GM, or I'll let you use that trait, but if this goes bad, it's going to go really bad, or something like that, is like, you know, you might be the camouflage guy, but if you fail this, you're going to end up with paint all over you, and suddenly that's going to be something that gets in your way, a consequence, which I think they term it in the game as well.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. Yeah, we want everyone essentially using these quirks to justify why their character should be able to do the thing that they're trying to do. But then, like you say, if it goes wrong, you use those quirks to frame why it went wrong. And things like that. So, like for this example, so yeah, I stand there, I just look like a big thing. You roll, you fail. Like, yeah, you just look like a big rock. So now you've got a load of graffiti on you where a kid has started drawing. They thought you were a wall, that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
well,
Like,
you've been hit by a cart because they thought you were just a bit of the, yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, fantastic. And those small groups, I guess, do lend themselves, I think, really well from I guess, from a game master perspective to telling a kind of story you want to tell. Because if you know you want to tell a watch story, that gets you into that mystery space. Whereas if you're telling concerned citizens, I think is another one. It can be like something a bit more quirky or low stakes or something like that going on around. Well, there's all sorts of things going on around Ankh-Morpork, but that's certainly something where you can shift that, I guess, spotlight on the narrative
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
well.
it gives everyone an idea of what game they're going into. And we
Yeah.
have like at the beginning when you're choosing your organizations, like choose this organization if you want this kind of game. um, Sorry, get up. Um, yeah, so like for example, the watch we said this is a solving mystery, moral decisions, protecting people type game. The assassins is literal backstabbing, high society, and political entanglements. So it allows you to and yeah, concerned citizens, petty mysteries, squabbling, and meandering nonsense. Like it
Yes.
allows you to really focus in on what type of game you're going to play. Like as a group, it lets everyone be like, oh, I feel like this time round, let's just do something silly. So let's make concerned citizens, or like this time round, I want more magic. So okay, let's do let's do Dancing University and be wizards. It allows people to focus the type of story they want to tell, and everyone to have that expectation going in. So no one is like, oh, I kind of wanted to play a different type of game because you know from the beginning and you have that conversation at the start.
Yeah. And I think that that setting expectations for the campaign, it also lends itself really well to, I guess, episodic games as well, where you can be like, well, this is the group for this session, but you know, next time maybe some of the regulars are still here and maybe their traits have evolved a little bit, but you can, easily have a new member of that group that you can roll up, or if you did, the old guy had his happy ending, you can bring in a new character that can slot into that architecture quite well.
Yeah, yeah. So the idea behind this game is it's not like your big long campaign. It's not your multi-year campaign where you're meeting weekly. Let's say for the sake of argument, we know it never happens. Uh,
I'm still
and
I'm
you're
still trying to finish off my last mothership scenario, so I absolutely understand that.
exactly. It's not that. This is the game you pick up and play between your big things. It's like a palate cleanser, a little silly thing. You can play it as a campaign play. You can link things together, but the idea is that 2 to 3 sessions and you've told your story. It's like picking up a Pratchett paperback. It's a nice little thing, a nice little comfort read. You read it in a few days, and then you probably read the next one, and then you read the next one, and you read the next one.
And then by that
Um,
point, you'll be ready to reread them all again. So,
yeah, exactly,
you're on the
exactly.
treadmill at that point.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's the idea behind this is that we wanted to emulate that kind of feel with the
Yes.
game.
Yeah, and yeah, lends us really really strongly to that. And you mentioned the eras supplement that I guess was part of that original Kickstarter, which has, okay, we're going to do a little bit focusing on the opera. So here's this toolkit of masquerade scenarios, and then this group is now not doing opera and is now doing something else. So you could pick up and like plug in, I guess, almost those you know characters from one scenario and then put them into a different context, all within Ankh-Morpork.
Yeah, yeah, which was a lot of fun figuring out how to do that. One of the really nice things in that era's book was the industrial era. Like obviously that's where we last saw Ankh-Morpork at the end of Raising Steam, and then it's like what happens next? Like, what industry would you industrialize? Like, and how would your characters do it? Like, you take the reins. You get to develop Ankh-Morpork beyond what we have seen it developed as. um, and like one of the examples in there is the sewers, the Basilgate, like taking on the sewers type thing, which is a really interesting thing and something that maybe Moist could have done if he'd gone on to what would he have gone on to next? Like you get to tell that story, which I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that is one of, I guess, the real joys of role-playing games, especially in like a licensed setting, is that you get to, I guess, take control of that narrative even just for a little bit. And it can be true in your game, and oh, this is what happened next in our hearts or in our heads, and then someone else will say, yeah, but it didn't happen like that in my game. In my game, this happened.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the multiverse, is it? It's trouser legs of time. There's
that's right.
infinite discs.
Um, I guess speaking of that progress and what comes next, we know that the Modiphius announced a couple new bits, I think late last year or early this year, that you're heading into. And the big one, I guess, probably for the Discworld RPG fans is Lanka and Uberwald. These are just some of those images I put out of through the Eras book. Um, what I guess can you tell us about that and your approach to you know, doing that rather than Ankh-Morpork, and what can is there anything you can tease or anything that we can really expect out of that bit that's coming next?
Oh, I've got to be careful. It's what I'm currently working on. As we speak, is what I'm writing. It's very interesting. It's different types of stories. Like we're not obviously you're not in Ankh-Morpork. You're in Lanka. You're in Uberwald. Those are different places. And whenever we see them in the novels, they are telling different stories. There's not so much emphasis on law and order, for example, or disorder, I suppose. Um, but one thing that I am very, very interested to see is how people handle witch magic, because it's a little different than wizard magic. Obviously, it's a lot less geometry, as Granny would say. Um, I can't say too much, but I'm really interested to see how people are gonna get in on that because it's a little different. It's a little fun. Well, I hope it's fun.
Can I throw a couple of things that you can maybe make a positive or negative noise at? Will we
Maybe.
seeing some Feagles?
I mean, it would be rude not to, wouldn't it?
What about I imagine we'll see some vampires.
If you were in Uberwald and there weren't vampires, I think I would be doing my job wrong.
Uh, do we go all the way to somewhere like Genoa, or is that really outside of scope?
I couldn't possibly comment on locations beyond those in the title.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to. I guess we'll have to wait and see. When can we wait and see until?
So this Kickstarter is supposed to go live towards the end of this year, um, which is when we're hoping to get everything up and ready. So yeah, that's why I'm working on it now to get it all ready and parceled away so that we can start hit the ground running.
Oh, fantastic. And by then, of course, we will all have those, flashed up those physical objects before. We'll have those PDFs, we'll have those books in our hot little hands, and hopefully, many of us will have had a chance to play around with the Discord RPG at our tables, and we'll be able to leap into the Lanka stuff. And of course, like with any role-playing game, you can mix and match, and you can pull things out of that to bring into Ankh-Morpork. Maybe the Feagles are visiting.
I mean, they do.
They
They
do.
turned an entire pub the wrong way round, so you get to do that yourselves, or
Yeah.
you may get to do that yourselves. Not confirming anything, obviously.
Uh, Although now I think about it, a Feagle campaign would be very fun, but I think it would be very close to. We mentioned Goblin Quest earlier. I think that'd be that level of absurd
Yeah.
a
Oh, it would
Feagle
be
campaign.
ridiculous,
Very
absolutely
good.
ridiculous, but a lot of fun.
So then, I guess final thing I wanted to, while I've got you, is have a look at how do we create, I guess, a character in the Discworld RPG. So I sent you character concept. We might need to just have a think about how he fits in. Let's just see if this comes up. So I guess the character concept I sent to you just as an idea was Glom Tunnel Cracker, and I thought he could be attached to, maybe it's a citizens group, maybe it's like an insurance firm. I thought he could be a guy that attaches to there. So um, I guess for the audience here, this is I've taken the Discord character sheet and just put it in a Word document here. As you can see, they're not complex. You don't have to do you don't have to get your spreadsheet out. You don't have to get your calculator out to build this out. So I guess where would you see a character like this starting off?
So the start would be figuring out like the organization, which you've got the Dolly sisters into your ants. That feels like the Thieves Guild. That
Hmm.
feels like a let's not say a scam, but it feels like protection money.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we've got that idea already. Obviously, this would be something you'd be discussing with your group at the table. But we've got that organization. So then it's we go on to our background, which is a two-part thing. It's your species and your upbringing.
Yep.
Species, we know you are a dwarf,
Hmm.
I would imagine.
Yes.
Um, and then for the actual upbringing, you can either roll or choose from a D10 table. So do you have a D10 to hand?
I If I don't have a D10, I'll have a D20 and divide it by two. Uh,
That works.
yes. So yeah, we'll take and sorry, what you're seeing for the audience is me scrolling through this again this lavishly illustrated book with all these little we mentioned all these little stories going on in the side panels, which is wonderful to see. I hadn't picked up on many of them, but having a look at it, it's a wonderful thing to see. So here is our oh, these are all the kind of species dwarf. I'd love to see the battle bread as well. Uh, yeah, so our background is here. We have our upbringing here. So let's have a look for Glom.
Yeah, eagle-eyed readers. I don't know if you can read that. I don't know what this is being presented on. Probably a very large screen, I hope. Otherwise, we're going to be tiny. May notice a few of these that link to certain characters that you may be aware of. So, coming back to Moist, there is raised by doting if unwise parents in there. Uh, for Carrot, raised by a different
Right, different
species.
species, yes.
Yeah, so you can, if you have an idea of a character based on a not character from the novels, you can create them with this character creator.
So
Maybe with some tweaks and turns.
I've rolled a three. So I've from a family who runs a modest business in Ankh-Morpork, and I think that already like launches you into a bit of a story. It's like, yeah, but he's fallen with the Thieves Guild, so maybe the family business didn't go so well, or maybe he got turfed out for antisocial
Yeah,
behavior. Or maybe he's
or
got
maybe
loving
the
parents that don't know what he's doing with his days.
maybe the family business is insurance. Maybe they are a family of dwarf insurers. There's it's one of those things where you all these like little quotes and little prompts act as like jumping off points for your own story. So it gets the grey cells moving. Little inspirations.
Yeah. I actually like the idea that it is that maybe Dolly Sisters Insurance is his family business, and that's he's going into the family trade, and his dad's telling him to go out and you know knock over things tactically to you know in the
Yeah,
hope that people pay up.
definitely.
So then we go to our niche, which is in the uh, and again, sorry for people watching on the big screen, but we will fly through this book a little bit quickly. If you want to read all the text in here, go buy a copy, or wait for this to turn up in the mail. Um, so let's find our Thieves Guild. Here they are.
So yeah, we were talking earlier about how one of the first things you do is choose your organization, and one of the reasons for that is the top D4 table you can see there is your goal. So that's what you as a group will be attempting to do during this like mini arc, this campaign, this adventure, whatever you want to call it. Um, and they're always linked in Adventures Ankh-Morpork. They are linked to the organization that you are a part of. So like the watch, the goals are things like solving crimes and stuff like that. The assassins, the student assassins, they are like getting through the term without dying. Wizards are wizards, weird. But yeah, here so you have the example goals there, which is something that you would have discussed by this point with your party. So we'll leave those for now and figure that
I
out
noticed
later.
I noticed one of them here is an insurance goal, so maybe that's
There
that
you go.
that that one looks like a fitting one. We'll pick someone. Maybe we are going to knock over something in the Thieves Guild in the hope that it's not a rubber thing and springs straight back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you get into your niches, which is like we were talking about earlier. These are the place that this character fits within their overall group. So this is a rolling on rolling on a d6 table, or choosing one if there's one that jumps out at you when you're creating your character.
So I've rolled on a four, which means I'm the property evaluator.
It's all coming together. That seems perfect.
Yeah, I think so, because I think property evaluator, how fragile is it? Is it really? Would be
Yeah,
would be what this kind of goes. He goes, yeah, goes around and tests a couple of beams and goes, looks a bit fragile. Better do
yeah,
something about that.
definitely.
Yeah.
And then then we get into quirks. So, like I was saying, the quirks are the weird little idiosyncrasies, the strange things that your character that makes them them. So there are three quirks for every character. The first one is always rolled on from their organization table, so it's a more of a it's linked to their job, their profession, their organization that they are part of. And then the other two are rolled on a big long D20 table that are more about them as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, roll as a d6 and see what you got, unless there's obviously one that you like the look of.
I mean, I like the look of all of those, and I think you know, and we talked about it a little bit. I think what is your specialism? Again, for this guy, it's I think he is a bit of a bit of a savant when it comes to like that's load bearing or
Hmm.
that's breakable. So and we won't run through all the quirks for now, but for this, I think if you're to get this guy into a game, maybe his role is to just find the most breakable thing, and he's got this unerring knack with doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then a good sort of quirk for that, I think, would be like um, an eye for the valuable or something like that is something that you
Hmm.
can like something that you can use straight up, but also twist. So like it could be at some point in the adventure, you just literally pull out an eye and be like, oh no, I've got this. Uh,
Yeah, and an eye for the fragile might be a good one too, because then you
eye
could
for the
do
fragile.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's fragile objects, but it's also no, this person's fragile, so maybe he's got a bit of
Yeah.
a soft heart or something where he,
Yeah. Good at reading people, that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. And then I guess again we won't go through them all just for time, but that gives you a really good idea, I guess, in play of how you can take again just a few simple sentences, and a few simple prompts, and actually come up with quite a fully fledged character that fits quite seamlessly into Ankh-Morpork. You can imagine Glom like walking off a page in a book or some of these other ones. You can imagine them appearing in a as part of the Ankh-Morpork Massif or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think another thing that people would notice, there's one at the bottom there called core, which
Mm.
we didn't fill in, and that is something that comes through in gameplay. It's essentially that moment where your character realizes who they are, and then you get to write another one of these cool little evocative things and use that throughout the adventure once it's happened. So core moments are what they're called,
Yeah.
but they're a way to really double down on and like once you understand who this character is, be like, oh no, this is them,
Yes.
and like bring that to the fore.
Yeah. And I think so many characters across all the Discworld novels do find that core as part of it. So it's really important that it's in this game that, you know, someone like Tiffany says, I am the witch of the chalk. And that's kind of,
Mhm.
this is my territory and this is what I protect. Or, someone
Yeah,
like
and it
Sam's
was
Vimes is who watches the Watchmen? Also me, right? Is kind of
yeah,
his core and his like, you know, in Thud, that's kind of his like restatement of his core values and all of that as well.
yeah, and it's always something that happens that is prompted by the story. Like the Tiffany example, she doesn't realize she's the witch of the, or she knows kind of she is, but she doesn't realize it until she's like facing the fairy queen, being like, "How dare you? This is mine."
Yes.
And so that's that core moment that we tried to encapsulate in gameplay of like the cat. So if someone was playing that character, they're like, "No, no, no, this is mine." Like
Yes.
that my core is this is mine. The chalk is mine.
Yeah.
I'll probably like something along the lines of like I have the chalk in the my bones in the hills in my bones. Like that would be then the core statement for that character that they can then use going forward.
Yeah. And I think it's a great thing in in this to give a character like a spotlight moment where it's like, for any role player or anyone, no matter how you play one of these games, it's great to have that moment of, no, this is my guy and this is what he does and this is what
Yeah.
is like, yeah, a bit of a statement about who they are. It's fantastic. I guess we've talked about we've talked about the Lanka book and that you're, I guess, neck deep in drafting that. And Modiphius, as we said, has announced some other projects. But are there any other projects, maybe outside of Discworld, that you've been working on that you want to highlight or that you can't wait to show off? We
I
mentioned
think as
the
a
new edition of Star Trek earlier.
Yeah, so second edition Star Trek is that's a lot of fun. I did some work on that. I think, like I said earlier, the Wolfenstein game, which is sort of a lot more combat focused 2D20 system. That's always very good. It's very good. I thoroughly recommend people pick that one up when it comes out.
And I'm sure,
Um,
yeah, and I'm sure in 2026 there's absolutely no appetite for a game about taking the fight to Nazis.
no, of course not.
No.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that I've worked on currently that I'm looking forward to people getting their hands on. Also in the studio, we've had Wasteland Warfare version 2. So Wasteland Warfare is our solo miniatures game for Fallout. And we've had a version 2 of that we've been working on, which is a lot of fun and can fit on your average desk, which is very dangerous during the workday if you've got a solo game going just here. Um,
I'll just do a couple of rolls and see where we get to.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and
But
before and
yeah, I
before you
think
know it, your bubble's gone yellow on Teams and you're in trouble.
yeah. I think we've got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline that I'm very excited for people to see. Some of which I cannot talk about yet, but
No,
once it's out there, uh, I think people will enjoy it.
fantastic. So Andy, if people wanted to find you online or check out anything you're up to, other than of course looking at what Modiphius is up to, is there anywhere people should go to look for you?
I'm not really that much online. I'm on Discord. I'm on the Modiphius Discord specifically as I think Modiphius Andy. I can't remember what my actual tag is on that, which is bad. Should have checked that before this. But yeah, mostly if you want to look at what I'm currently doing, Modiphius Discord is the best place. And like once you guys all get your hands on the games and start playing it, please get on the Discord and start chatting with us. Um, but yeah, I'm most that's where I mostly interact as an online presence. I'm a bit of a luddite in that respect.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for the Australian Discworld Convention. Again, speaking to you from the past, we're speaking to you from the past, but I think this is going to be on the Saturday, so people will be well into the con by that point. But thank you so much for joining us. As I said, really have enjoyed looking at what's already coming out. Really going to enjoy getting that physical book and leafing through it and. Hopefully, once I can corral enough adults, getting it to a table sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And obviously, wouldn't be complete or the right way to end this is obviously GNU Terry Pratchett.
A shared sentiment by everyone here, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Andy.
Cheers.